Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Monday to you and happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for your service. If you did serve here in the US and otherwise, I did really appreciate it. I got members in my family, service members in my family, so really, hats off to you, my friend. So what I want to talk about here with Solana is a couple of things. First of all, do not short Solana. Let's go ahead and start with that at the moment because I tried to short over the weekend, didn't really have a lot of success. The truth is we sent that signal on Thursday. Price action broke through its key level resistance at 210, didn't look back, and had to close the trade early. Okay, so this, folks, that does happen sometimes. We didn't get the pullback that we should have from Bitcoin. It decided to go on a tear on a weekend. It's part of the reason why I don't recommend trading in weekends, but on the same accord, it's still just, it's just the way the market is right now. It's really crazy in a good way, and we got to respect the fact that shorting is very high risk. So definitely don't recommend that. We're going to talk about the reasons why the likelihood of the price action going higher from here is greater, but also just the simple fact of what areas could it pull back to if it does, right? We want to be mindful of that as well, because generally speaking, when we have these kind of trends, it's best to wait for a long position that either doesn't happen or to just not trade at all, right? Because again, shorting to certain levels, like I tried to do over the weekend, didn't really work so well, okay? And again, hindsight's 2020. I mean, it's like our first bad trade of the month. It's all good, but it happens sometimes, folks. So try not to cry over spilt milk, and make sure that you actually utilize, the knowledge that I have here and make your own informed decisions. If you're going to get on here and tell me that I made a mistake and that I cost a lot of people a lot of money, that's your own thing there, because I don't recommend taking any of my signals unless you, of course, make sure you use your own proper risk tolerance. Okay, so again, easier said than done, but just make sure you learn what you can here, because the whole point of this is to help educate you to be a better trader. So when we look at liquidation, the concept is pretty consistent. Just in other words, once upper areas of liquidation have been swept, the price generally will pull back. That's kind of the common characteristic. Now, right now we got this weird euphoria going on. A lot of people are FOMOing in, and we're going to see some volatility because of that. But we can see small amounts of liquidation upwards of 224, a little bit at 226. I'm not super concerned with that. What we'll do is we'll take a look at the macro levels, of course, previous highs, and kind of see where we're at. I believe we broke through our weekly resistance, and we'll talk about that too. But just to note, we got our liquidation delta here at about 2.5 billion. Kind of the highest we've seen in a little while. I've seen Solana's liquidation delta be higher, but the concept here is that when we stay too high for too long, you're normally going to see a pullback. Okay. Again, right now, the way the market is, this almost doesn't matter, but it's still relevant to understand that we got way more longs than shorts in the market. Big surprise, but there's nobody really selling right now. So that's just the key takeaway. When people get bullish and just kind of blindly bullish, there's this really strange thing that happens, and logic doesn't necessarily apply to it. At least the logic that you should find in trading, and you'll see continuations like that. So Solana does have a tendency of running. I think there's a good chance we'll see further upside, but the concept here is if we look at open interest, we can see 180s is basically the heaviest concentration where people are averaged in. And if we zoom in here local, we can see 216, 214 as kind of those two higher, more recent levels. So that doesn't tell us too much, honestly, because again, points of control are only helpful in the sense of understanding where people are averaging into their positions the most. And we kind of see that spread out a lot. So it's not really like a detailed understanding of where people are at. People are just trying to get in before it's too late. That's really the concept right now. So everyone's like, shut up and take my money right now, okay? And that's kind of the way it goes. Again, logic doesn't necessarily apply to trading right now. So when you see what I'm talking about here today, we're going to just kind of talk about some key levels that may be helpful, but also we got to recognize there's it may not even work out either. Either way you look at it here, Bitcoin is printing a very similar pattern here, and this is not exact by any stretch, but if you kind of look here, you got this kind of nice little cup pattern, and then there's also a little bit of a handle too. Kind of, again, generally speaking, cup and handles look like this, right? Bitcoin has a very significant pattern that's very similar in a lot of ways, right? So the whole concept here is that now that we've broken this descending trend, the more local range, it's more likely to continue a lot higher, especially now that we've broken our local high, right? The local high is at that 203 to 210 mark. I've talked about that for a while, being a previous resistance range. Now we can remove that and rename that essentially to a support range. So if we look at the weekly here, just to kind of clarify, while we are 8 weeks into this continuation and a pullback would make sense, just due to the simple fact that Solana is really good about respecting it's 9 on TD sequential, we can recognize here that this local high, the local high back from March, Basically, we had 4 weeks in a row where it couldn't pass $2.10. Sorry, $2.10. This isn't SUI. 201. Basically, we can round up and just say, or round down and say $2 even, right? That was essentially the resistance level. Now that should be a new support level for us, considering the fact the price action, ripped pretty hard leading into that. So my speculation here is if we see a pullback, $2 to 2 to 210 would be an optimal entry right now, just based on the simple fact that it's common for prices to retest its local high as a new low before it continues off. So I would love to see Bitcoin pull back just a little bit so we can see Solana retrace that area and find a good entry. I'm not recommending you wait to that level because honestly at this point, Solana does look like it wants to take off, but that is just a relevant thing. So on the weekly time frame, again, just to note, we're 8 weeks of continuation into our 9-week period. So there's a good chance we will see within the next week or two some type of consolidation and or retracement. All right, that's just kind of how that's supposed to work. Does that happen right now? Not exactly. I mean, we're seeing completely illogical things happen in the market right now. But either way you look at it here, we are not topped out on the 70 on RSI. We haven't hit 70 yet. It does imply further upside makes sense. We can also see money flow index is increasing. It's above the RSI now, which is extremely favorable. And then of course MACD is converging. So the weekly looks very, very strong, minus a potential overextension. Daily time frame, we're going to look here. We recognize we're also getting closer to an overextended state. So 7 days into this continuation, on average, again, Solana is really good about hitting 9s and reversing itself. We're probably due to see a correction this week of some sort. I'm expecting a small correction. I don't think anything lower than 2 to 210 makes sense right now. So I'm very, very interested in an entry just below the $210 mark. Apologize, I keep saying $2.10. All right, so we look at the moving averages. We're above all those, right? That's, we're bullish, right? No other way around it. We're over 70 on the RSI. Bitcoin is the exact same thing, just seeing it take off past 80. So the consensus here is that we're truly bullish. There's no way around it. You do not want to consider shorting this coin, right? And that's just been the narrative I've had for some time, at least with Bitcoin. While I expected Solana to pull back just a little bit to fill its fair value gap in the the upper 180s to 190s, it just didn't work out that way, right? And that happens, folks. You got to recognize hitting a stop loss is actually a good thing because we'd be in tremendously worse position right now if we were trading without a stop loss, right? So please understand that helps protect your portfolio. And if you're only trading with 5% or less of your total portfolio size, like I recommend, it wouldn't be a big deal to have to close a trade early, right? So please understand that when you are trading, cutting losses is an important part of that. I talk a lot about that in my trading university. Please make sure you watch those videos if you're part of our community. So daily time frame, we can summarize as fully bullish. There's no other way around it. We do, of course, still have a fair value gap as low as 190 to 194. So if we do see, $2 breached, I don't think we're going to see much lower than 190 as a worst case scenario. Take a look here. And again, I'm going to update our fib levels here soon, folks. I'm not going to worry about those just yet. I'll post that playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. I don't like to, provide fib levels based on quick movements like this. Generally, you want to wait for a daily candlestick closure. So what I'll probably do is I'll just create our fib levels from today's previous open here, the low in November, upwards. It's roughly a week ago to the highest point here on a daily candlestick closure. So you want to use larger time frame fib levels to get more accurate understandings of where the retracement could go. Either way, we're above all moving averages in the 4-hour time frame. RSI is over 70. Money flow index increasing, stochastic, MACD, everything is letting us know it's going up, and you don't want to bet against it. Okay, the likelihood of the price pulling back is pretty low, but if it does pull back, hypothetically, you've got our local high here on the 4-hour time frame at approximately 212. So again, that reaffirms the 210, 212 range as being a pretty solid consideration for long, and once again, low 200s as a potential area as well if we even see that. So on the 1-hour time frame, let's quickly recognize here that everything is going to be pointing up. There's no reason to consider, once again, a short position. So the common narrative here is that the price is more likely to go up than down. We are starting to see some resistance here, but I don't really think we're going to pull back all that hard. I feel like we're going to still have a pretty solid green week here based on macro, overextensions. And at this point here, I think this week will probably be a big FOMO week for a lot of people. We're going to see some overinflations on a lot of coins. And then sometime next week, perhaps, depending on how Bitcoin's behaving, we will see, that correction that is due. But again, folks, take a look at this volume. You don't short into that, okay? And what's interesting about this is a lot of this volume came from over the weekend. And that is insane. You're not supposed to see that. This is what a weekend's supposed to look like. Pretty low volume, and instead that really changed a lot on Saturday night. Again, and if you are part of my community too, I will not purposely avoiding you. I take Sundays off for a reason. Just so happens the market pumped on Saturday night all the way through Sunday. So now that we're here, we just got to use logic and kind of try not to get too overly emotional, but I can tell you that you're going to find more success going up than down at this point. All right. Thanks again for joining me here. Last but not least, we got some awesome benefits here with Bitunix, progressive prize pool, everything there. Consider registering there. We got the top 20 contestants qualify for 60,000 USDT because we're definitely on target to hit our 500 million volume goal. So awesome stuff. Congrats again to everybody who is in profit there too. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for your time. Take care.